Hello everyone! How can you get used to make complete and confident sentences in spoken French, even when you're still a beginner or intermediate? That's possible. And this video is a practice session where you're going to learn to make sentences in spoken French with the verbs to be, to wait, and to live. And you just need to know the French pronouns to follow this practice. And I know that these verbs are supposed to be difficult as they are irregular, but here we'll make them easy. So you can follow if you don't know these verbs. And if you know them, you're going to learn to use them in proper sentences on the moment. We'll start with basic speed trainings, so you get comfortable using these verbs, and so you don't fall into traps and common mistakes. And then I'll show you how to make longer sentences in French. So at the end of this video, you master these verbs in spoken French. So let's start with the verb to be. And actually we are going to use the expression to be sure. So to say to be sure, we need to say sure. In French, sure is just sûr. So you can say it, sûr. So this is a practice session. So you'll have to practice. So you'll have to say the words out loud. If you want to improve your French speaking, you have to say the words out loud. So here we have sûr. Then we need the verb to be. So for most pronouns, to be is just the sound e. Just e. So then, can you say, she is sure? Elle est sûre. So for to be, we have that sound e for most pronouns, not all of them, but we're going to start with just e for the moment. So she's sure is elle est sûre. Then let's see the verb for to wait. To wait in French is attendre. So attendre really looks like to attend in English, but it doesn't mean to attend. To attend is another verb. Attendre really means to wait. Now, how to use to wait in French? How to use attendre. Attendre with singular pronouns sounds just attend. So you take the infinitive form, attendre, and you remove the ending, the dr sound, the D-R-E. You don't pronounce the D. It just sounds attend. So can you say, you informal wait? Tu attends. That's just that. Attendre becomes attend. So you informal wait, tu attends. With singular pronouns. Now we're going to say, you informal are waiting. But actually, in French, you informal are waiting doesn't exist. You can't say that in French. Or actually, if you want to say you are waiting, you have to say you wait. If you mean you informal are waiting, first you have to translate that into you wait, and then you can say it in French. So, can you say you informal are waiting? Tu attends. So exactly as you wait. Tu attends. So here the tricky thing is that in English, you have the verb to be. You say you are waiting. But in French, you can't have the verb to be. It's just the idea of waiting that counts. So you only use the verb attendre. Tu attends. And then we're going to turn this sentence into a negative sentence. And in spoken French, you just add the word pas. And you add pas just after the verb. So how do you say, you informal are not waiting? Tu attends pas. So you just follow the logic. You are not waiting. In French, you don't have the verb to be, just the idea of waiting. So tu attends, and you place the mark of the negation after the verb. So pas just after attends. So tu attends pas. And you see that it's different from English. Because in English, you have the verb to be, and then you have the not, the negation, and then the verb waiting. So here, if you want to think in French, you really have to focus on the idea that you mean. So here, to wait. So tu attends, and then the mark of the negation. Pas. So tu attends pas. And then can you say, you informal are not sure. Tu es pas sûr. So here, the coincidence make it looks like English. Literally, you say tu es pas sûr. So you are not sure. Because here you really mean the verb to be. So you have to say the verb to be. You have to say est, the sound est. Tu es, you informal are. And just after the verb, directly you have the mark of the negation. So tu es pas, you are not, tu es pas. And then sure or sûr in French. So tu es pas sûr. And then let's see the verb for to leave in French. To leave relates to a departure. So to leave is partir. Actually, there are several ways of saying to leave in French, depending on what you mean. Here we mean to leave for to go away. So to leave, to go away is partir. And that relates to a departure. So partir. Now, how to use partir in present tense. So partir is an IR verb, and it belongs to the big category of IR verbs where when you want to use it in present tense, you remove the entire ending. So you remove the entire tir with singular pronouns. And we are going to say we are leaving. And in spoken French, we is on. So on, that sounds on. You don't pronounce the N. The N is just here to modify, to change the sound of the O into on. That makes a new vowel. So on. And in French, we regard on as a singular pronouns. You conjugate verbs with on as with he and she as a singular pronoun. So how do you say, we are leaving? On part. So we is on. Then we say, we are leaving. We have the verb to be in English, but in French, you can't have the verb to be. It's only the idea of leaving that counts. So you just say we and then the verb partir. And you remove the entire ending. You remove the entire tir sound. And that makes part. So we are leaving is on part. So now, how do you think you should say we are waiting? On attend. So we are waiting. We, on, then or, the verb to be that you don't say in French. You only say the idea of waiting. Focus on the idea. So we are waiting. On and then attend. You just say attend with singular pronouns, and on is regarded as a singular pronoun. And you say on attend. So here you have to pronounce the N of on. That's an exception. When you have a word that starts with a vowel, just after on, you pronounce the N. On attend. And you pronounce that N as if it was the first letter of the word attend or n'attend. So you say on attend. So now we're going to do a speed training. So I'm going to say short sentences in a row, like you are sure, or you are waiting, or he's leaving. When I say a short sentence in English, you have 4 seconds to say it in French. Then I say it in French. And then I say directly the next sentence in English. And you have 4 seconds to say it in French, etc. So here you really have to focus on the idea that you mean. Because I'm going to say, for instance, you are sure. Here you have to say you are. You have to say the verb to be in French. But the next sentence will be maybe you are leaving. And here in you are leaving, you can't say the verb to be in French. You have to focus on the idea to leave. And it's the same if it's you are waiting. You don't say the verb to be in French. You have to say just to wait, the verb to wait. So always focus on the idea that you mean. So let's do this first series. So get ready. 3, 2, 1. How do you say you informal are leaving? Tu pars. She is waiting. Elle attend. He is sure. Il est sûr. He is not waiting. Il attend pas. We are sure. On est sûr. You informal are not sure. Tu es pas sûr. You informal are not waiting. Tu attends pas. She is leaving. Elle part. We are not leaving. On part pas. She isn't sure. Elle est pas sûre. And that's it. So this was the first series. But we can go further. Now, we're going to add several pronouns. So for instance, I. We're going to say I am sure. So to be in French is the sound E for most pronouns. But for I am, when you want to say I am, the am in French is suis. So U and then I. U, I. That merge together. Ui. And am sounds suis. So how do you say I am sure? Je suis sûr. Je suis sûr. And you see, what's interesting is that the verb to be starts with an S with I, and it also starts with an S with they. With they, if you want to say they are, the R of they are is sont. So S-O-N-T, but the T is silent. So you just say sont. You don't pronounce the N. It's like with we in casual spoken French. On. You have the sound on. O and then an N that transforms the O into a more nasal sound. So you hear sont. So now can you say, they women are sure? Elles sont sûres. Elles sont sûres. Now let's say they women are leaving. So here we have the verb to leave. So partir. With singular pronouns, you remove the entire tir. So it makes the sound part. With plural pronouns like they, you need more letters because you have a plural pronoun. So with plural, you need more letters. Here, the available letter is the T of partir. So with plural pronouns, actually with they, you're going to pronounce the T. So how do you think you should say, the women are leaving? Elles partent. So you pronounce the T. Elles partent. And really don't forget to pronounce the T. Because if you don't pronounce the T, we just hear elle part. So if you don't pronounce the T, we hear she is leaving, not they. So the T is really important when you mean they. So they women are leaving, elles partent. And now we're going to do the same thing with the verb for to wait. So what's to wait already? Can you just say to wait? Attendre. So now with the same logic, how do you think you should say, they women are waiting? Elles attendent. So the verb to wait becomes attendre. With the D, you have to pronounce the D at the end with they. Elles attendent. You also pronounce the S of elle because just after you have a vowel, the A of attendre. So you say elles attendent. You pronounce the S as a Z and as if it was at the beginning of the verb attendre. Attendent. Elles attendent. And then how do you say? They men are not sure. Ils sont pas sûrs. So they men are. Ils sont. With they, the verb to be is sont. So ils sont. And just after the mark of the negation, pas. Ils sont pas sûrs. So now you know all what you need to do the next series. So here we're going to do a next speed training with all what you just seen. And in this speed training, we're going to add plural pronouns. But basically, it's always the same principle. you have to focus on the idea that you mean. Because sometimes you have to say to be in French and sometimes you don't say to be in French. So get ready. 3, 2, 1. How do you say she is waiting? Elle attend. You informal are not leaving. Tu pars pas. They men are not sure. Ils sont pas sûrs. The women are waiting. Elles attendent. We are sure. On est sûr. The men are not leaving. Ils partent pas. I am sure. Je suis sûr. The women are not leaving. Elles partent pas. The men are sure. Ils sont sûrs. The men are not waiting. Ils attendent pas. I am not sure. Je suis pas sûr. And that's it. And now, thanks to these speech trainings, you're already more used to make sentences in spoken French. And you're even able to make more complex sentences in spoken French. So for instance, we are going to say, we are sure that you are leaving. You can say that, or almost. Actually, in the sentence, we are sure that you are leaving, you need the that. But that is easy here. That in the middle of a sentence is que. So you can say it. Que. So now, can you say, we are sure that you informal are leaving. On est sûr que tu pars. On est sûr que tu pars. So actually, you see that's very logic. You just add the different blocks one after the other and you make sentences in French. So then we're going to say, I am sure that he's leaving. But here you need to know something. If you want to say that he, in French you say que and then you say il. But when you have que and just after a word that starts with a vowel, that que, like all small words that end with e, you shorten it. You shorten que. You just say the sound que and then directly il. So que plus il makes qu'il. So now that you know that, can you say, I am sure that he's leaving? Je suis sûr qu'il part. Je suis sûr qu'il part. And now with the same logic, can you say, you informal are sure that the women are waiting. So, you informal are sure that the women are waiting. Tu es sûr qu'elles attendent. Tu es sûr qu'elles attendent. And here we could say voilà, because you just experienced how to really learn to make sentences in spoken French. With that kind of smart practice that makes you actually speak French. Don't try to learn by heart anything, but just practice making sentences directly in spoken French. That's how you'll be able to put words together into sentences. And if you want to go further, you can check out my free masterclass, where you'll learn to practice with more verbs and more types of sentences in spoken French. With the same method. You have the link in description, so if you want to get good at spoken French, I see you there.